NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg has said that if Russia uses nuclear weapons in Ukraine, it will exceed very important line. NATO is holding a training called Steadfast Noon next week. Long-term planned maneuvers are carried out at the same time each year and run for about a week. This includes fighters capable of carrying nuclear warheads, but don't include any living bombs. Russia is usually maneuvering itself around the same time, and NATO expects Moscow to launch a nuclear force sometime this month. Stoltenberg said NATO would closely monitor what Russia is trying to do. When asked what NATO would do if Russia launches a nuclear attack, Stoltenberg said, "We will not go into exactly how we will respond, but of course this will fundamentally change the nature of the conflict. It will mean that a very important line has been crossed." He added, even any use of a smaller nuclear weapon will be a very serious thing, fundamentally changing the nature of the war in Ukraine, and of course that would have consequences. Stoltenberg's remarks came after a meeting of the NATO Secret Nuclear Program Group between defense ministers in Brussels. The summit, which usually takes place once or twice a year, comes amid heightened tensions as some of the US-led NATO allies supply Ukraine with advanced weapons and ammunition in case of Russian airstrikes. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said, "Irresponsible and reckless rhetoric is dangerous about Russia's potential use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine." However, the US has not seen the need to make any changes to its current military posture or response, Austin said. European Union Foreign Policy Director Josep Borrell also warned Putin not to cross this threshold. Any nuclear attack against Ukraine will create an answer, not a nuclear answer but such a powerful answer from the military side that the Russian army will be annihilated, he said in a speech in Bruges, Belgium. NATO is wary of Russian moves in the war with Ukraine. But so far, there has been no change in the nuclear posture. But Putin's nuclear exercises could make it more difficult for NATO to understand Russia's intentions and potentially increase the risk of an accident. Russia will also be conducting its annual exercise, I think, the week after or just after the annual exercise, United Kingdom. Defense Secretary Ben Wallace told reporters on Wednesday. But what we don't want is to do things out of routine. This is a routine exercise and it's all about readiness, Wallace said. NATO's meeting is all about making sure we are ready for anything. I mean, that is the job of this alliance, to make sure that the 30 partners together are ready for what is thrown at us, and we have to continue to work at that. 14 NATO member countries will be involved in Steadfast Noon, which was planned before Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th. The main part of the maneuver is more than 1,000 kilometers, 625 miles, from Russia. NATO as an organization has no weapons. The nuclear weapons nominally linked to the alliance remain under the firm control of 3 member countries, the US, the UK, and France. However, France insists on nuclear independence and does not participate in nuclear planning group meetings. As Russian forces retreated in some areas against Ukrainian forces armed with Western weapons, Putin created a crisis by annexing 4 regions of Ukraine and declaring partial mobilization to support the crumbling front line. As his war plans go awry, Putin has repeatedly shown signs that he can rely on nuclear weapons to protect Russian interests. The threat also aims to deter NATO countries from sending more sophisticated weapons to Ukraine. In an interview with France 2 television, French President Emmanuel Macron suggested that France would not respond with a nuclear attack. He also warned about the responsibilities of leaders when it comes to nuclear rhetoric and said he has spoken to Putin several times. "We have a nuclear doctrine, which is clear," said Macron. "The dissuasion is working, but then, the less we talk about it, the less we brandish the threat, the more credible we are. Too many people are talking about it, he said. Sylvie Corbett of Paris and Tara Kopp of Washington contributed to this report.